Zach Colls, welcome to the True Sports Physiotherapy Podcast. I try to put a heavy emphasis on getting people's names right because my name is freaking crazy and no one pronounces it properly. I'm not going to put you on the spot now and ask you to pronounce it, but Zach Colls is easy compared to Yoni. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks for making some time, man.
Yeah, of course. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. So your practice is super unique in the landscape because you spend such a high majority of your time treating professional athletes. I want to dig into that. How the hell did you do that? How did you fill your schedule with professional athletes?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't done alone. I have two business partners. Again, we're very big on, we all work together. Nothing's done individually. But in short, when I moved from Virginia to Miami, I knew I wanted to work in sports. That was a big decision. Me coming to UM, got integrated working with the sports at UM pretty much after about the first year or so, we were working with the football, baseball teams. So that was some exposure to some pretty high level athletes. And then from there, I just got some private clients on the side as far as training them throughout PT school. And then from there, worked for a private practice in Miami. Worked 2 years NFL combine work at a place in Fort Lauderdale. Branched off from there and brought the medical side to a basketball-driven facility in Miami. After that, shortly after that, I traveled full time with a player for 2 years, or about a year and a half with John Wall, and then we came about towards the end of COVID when me and my business partner came back. We just kind of both put on the medical side. We brought the medical side to our facility now, Movement Lab. And from there, it's just been an effort from all of us. It's definitely not done alone though.
Okay. So how would you boil down the secret? If I'm a young PT and I just want to try to get in and treat pro athletes, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, for me, I guess from a personal standpoint, social media is pretty big as far as what I do from marketing. I at least myself, I dug into that. I kind of made a pretty consistent effort to do it a little bit before COVID and then a lot during COVID as time opened up a bit. But just doing what you do, doing it confidently. Don't again, they are normal people. They're just like me and you, except they have very large contracts, obviously. And a big thing I think is confidence and working as a team. If you think you know best, it typically, at least in my opinion, that doesn't really work the best. But these guys are likely traveling from, I'm not in Miami, but Miami, LA, Arizona, New York, et cetera, et cetera. If you can collaborate with other PTs, other strength coaches. I'm a physical therapist, other chiropractors as well. And there's some headbutting. We work with the chiropractors a ton. They all work together. I think that's key. Now, I'm just not thinking you know what's best, but you can collaborate, whether it's with 2 people or 10 people. As long as you put the athlete's interest up front, I think that's what's most important.
And how do you get the athletes to notice you? Or like in this world, is the athlete the referral source that's sending his buddies or his fellow colleagues? Or is it the agents, the doctors, strength coaches?
It's a hybrid of everything you just said. We both started off or at least I started off on a personal side when I was traveling with John, who I had some progress prior to him. But we get some from guys that they all have friends. They like it down in Miami, so that obviously helps. It's an off-season hub for a lot of NFL, some NBA, not as much NBA. A lot of those guys like to be out in LA, but and nonetheless, we have both. So that's other strength coaches in the area, some teams, some agents. It's a hybrid of everything. In short, there's not one source, but if you do it well, you communicate well with them, communicate well with everyone all around. It works pretty well to keep a pretty consistent flow, whether off season is given, but if a guy gets hurt in season, wants to not be with the team and be somewhere else, it opens the doors to keeping some pros in there relatively year round.
Yeah. And how do you divvy up the roles with you and your business partners?
That part really just depends. If it's like a direct referral to me, him, we'll usually start off with them.
Is he a physical therapist?
Yes. Yes, he is. So Stefan
Okay.
Valdez. Yeah, well, we went to school together, every class together for 3 straight years, pretty similar paths, almost identical paths outside of what we did and then until we came together a few years ago.
Okay, so you're both PTs and you open up Movement Lab, and how do you...
Let me retrace it. I retract that. So there's actually 2 businesses there. So there's a gym side, there's a Movement Lab. Stefan and my other business partner, Miguel, they opened that up while we were still in PT school. They're both born and raised here. And then we brought the official medical side of USA Sports, or to be specific, USA Sports Medicine, Miami Lakes, to that about 2 years ago. That's when we really brought together the gym side and then also like the official PT side as like a actual business.
Okay, so an athlete calls the business, hey, I need physical therapy. How do you determine who treats them? Are there other PTs that work out of there? What's the flow of the athlete when that happens?
Yeah, so we're the only PTs. We have a chiro in there some days of the week, but we are the only PTs that fits. And typically, honestly, how it goes is they reach out to me. If they reach out to him, they'll usually see him first. They'll start with them, and we might take most of the rehab, but it really depends how busy we are. Because we typically, there's no like, I need this person A, B, C, D, F, G on my schedule today. We're pretty big on like the co-treating concept, because we are almost like a mirror of yourself. I'm like, I can leave. If I had to leave for 3 months, I would be 100% confident giving him every single person on my schedule. I think he feels the exact same way. And even when we didn't officially have the company, we were already doing that, because he was traveling some, I was traveling some, I was in and out of Miami. He was in and out of Miami, Texas, et cetera, et cetera. So, I guess in short, it doesn't matter too much. We both trust what we both do. We both have a strength coach background. We both have a PT background, very similar in how we treat and prescribe exercise. So typically they start with whoever gets reached out to, and based on how our schedules look, we just make it work however works best for the athlete's schedule. So if they need 8 a.m. every day, but he's fully booked, or I'm fully booked to 8, I already have a solid time for this person, might hand them off, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah.
Okay. And how long do you spend with a given athlete?
It can be anywhere at minimum. I would say probably no one's in there less than 75 to 90 minutes. It can be up to 3 to 4 hours.
And how long are they one-on-one with you?
The first hour is pretty much guaranteed one-on-one. After that, they're all well aware though, especially a lot of them, if they don't do the training here, a lot of them have similar strength coaches. So if a lot of NFL guys train as a group. So if they're training in a group of like 6 to 8, and they all want to come to PT prior, they all know they can't see us at the exact same time if they all want to come in at 8 a.m. So we do our best to space it out at least 30 minutes to get someone started if they all need this time so they can all go work out at the same time. But generally, we try to give every single person an hour of direct one-on-one time. And then from there, we got to bounce around between us three as owners, staff that we have with us. But it's all, like I said, it's a very collaborative effort. I would never take any full credit for myself. It's everyone working as a team. I think that's what makes everything work so well with us here. I think every athlete would agree with that as well. Is it's just we all work very all together versus isolated.
And then what's your vision for the place? Do you want to hire more PTs? Do you want to build out the team? Where do you see this thing going?
Yeah, that would be that's the goal, is to add more PTs, to bring all realms of medicine all within the facility. Like I said, we have a chiropractor that comes in now about 2 to 3 times a week, just depending on the volume. It's more during the off season time when we are kind of chaotic. And then, multiple locations. That's the goal. But the first goal was to get this up and running. We've been here for about a little over 2 years now, but to get this running where it's just consistent year round. So as we know, athletes have a season that they have to get back to, so they're not here year round. So you can't just rely on your athletes. So again, as much as we treat athletes, we have people as young as 10 years old, adolescent athletes. And I think our oldest person here has been 91 or 92 years old. So we have a very wide variety, but at the same time, it's what you need to keep, in my opinion, a business running. You can't just rely on only pro athletes 24/7.
Yeah. And is the treatment model the same for them? So 91-year-old dude walks in, he gets an hour of your time?
Yeah. Everyone we have, they're all getting they're scheduled for an hour, especially from the get-go. If it's someone that's in there like kind of just year-round maintenance and they get really comfortable with everyone around. They actually, you will find out, you would think they want their own hour, but they actually they like being around all the pro guys or other people, because a lot of these guys, they develop friendships, whether it's just like the jump up or even the pro guys, but they all become friends. That's what makes it kind of unique. A lot of them are even people on the gym side that just work out here. Like, oh my God, I watch him play on TV, or I watch XYZ do whatever, play whatever sport, and they're right there working out with them, right next to them for 3 months every single day. So
yeah, that's really cool. Now, do you do any marketing targeted towards Gen Pop?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't been on the PT side the greatest with marketing. We've been, it's actually a topic of conversation the past like week or two with us. We need to do a bit more better as far as marketing, but a lot of it's just been social media. Honestly, it's at least for myself personally, is social media is it's basically a part-time job for me. But a part-time job, it's marketing to bring people in the door, reach out online, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so bring us into that conversation that you're having with your business partner. You're like, hey, we got to market more. What have you done? You said you social media well, but what's your plan of attack?
We're still trying to figure it out. I mean, we work with, just probably stop by more MD offices, do more follow-ups with patients, to do more from just, instead of just my page, probably have like a business page, go to more law firms, stop by law firms, to develop more connections with them. So we do work at PIP and LLP as well. We do some community events that we do, like recovery for run clubs and various, just like sports things we've already done. So I guess I wouldn't say we've done no marketing, but it just that hasn't been the forefront, because when we got started, it was pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, right in the summer, which was right in the middle of off season. So from the get-go, we never really had a downtime. So it's always been kind of like, okay, this place is up and running. Let's just keep going with it. So we haven't had a whole like, okay, let's plan this out more strategically. It's been, which is a blessing in disguise, but there was never really too much of like a downtime. But yeah, there's some things that we can certainly improve upon.
Yeah, so I totally get that. I've been there before. So even in like trying to schedule this conversation, which the audience has been waiting with bated breath for years for this Zach Colls conversation. So you do a ton of treating, right? You're treating how many hours a day, you think?
It really depends. I mean, it's not too. I guess if you're comparing to,
don't tell me you haven't been that busy, because if you haven't been that busy, you've just been putting me off.
No. I mean, my typical day, I'm up at 4 a.m. We start people with off season somewhere between 6 and 7, typically 7 a.m. and I'll go typically to about 5 p.m. But then of course, as you know, as a PT yourself, the day never ends. You do stuff on the admin side, documentations, insurance. I mean, we are out of network with insurance. I don't know if anyone who has experience with out of network, let's say with a very high volume Cigna, NFL, NBA, it's not the most fun process in the world, and they don't typically love to see a guy that's been in 50 to 70 times in an off season. So that's
how do you handle it?
Yeah, a lot of phone calls. But we do have staff that does help us with that. Stefan's very good at that side as well, my business partner. But lots of phone calls, a lot of communicating. I'm on the phone with Stefan, sometimes some nights, 10, 11, 12, figuring things out, scheduling the next day. For athletes, they aren't your typical, let's schedule 3-4 weeks in advance. It's let's get a text at midnight. Hey, can you do 7 a.m. tomorrow? Yeah, let's make it work, or et cetera, et cetera. Schedule changes. Can't make it until scheduled at 8. Can't make it until 11 because my court time changed. All right.
Love that.
We'll make it work, but.
Love that. So, yeah. Okay. So how much time would you say you spend working on the business as opposed to working in the business? Everything you just described is working in the business. How much time do you spend working on it? Whether it be forecasting, whether it be budgeting, whether it be designing this marketing plan that you just had a meeting about. When does that happen? That's another thing. We just had a meeting this week, is we typically do block out times, whether it's an hour or two a week, to just kind of game plan between ourselves and even with staff. So I'd say a few hours a week. If we have more time, we'll sit down on schedule, just in the facility, talk about things, discuss things, run through.
a bunch of things. So I couldn't give you an exact number, but ideally at least 1 to 3 hours a week with just between us.
1 to 3 hours a week, and you're treating how many? And you're treating how many hours a week?
Let's say we start at 7 or 8 and around 4 or 5, but not every hour. Our afternoons are lighter. It might be a gap of 2-3 hours where there's no one. It might be at the same time. I might have someone from 7 to 12 scheduled every 30 minutes. So, yeah.
And what do you see as the best or the biggest growth potential that's facing your current business?
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
What I mean is, like, what is an untapped market that you're not currently crushing that you say, hey, this does fit our model. We need to chase this. This is the way I kind of look at our business. Is I look at, like, okay, where are these referrals coming from? Where does our skill set fit in possibly another referral or another athletic population or another population period specialty? I want to attack that. What's next for you guys?
I would say a focus of us is a hybrid between more like the law firms that are close to us in the local area. We just haven't had as much time to go to those. And then baseball is a big one, especially for myself. That was my sport growing up and always played it. I worked with the team at some while I was in school. But that baseball market, again, we've had some college players, some adolescent athletes, but that's just a market we haven't tapped into.
How do you do that?
Miami has a million places, so it's not like you're the one sports place around. A lot of them, Miami is a place where if you're not close to the area, you typically don't want to leave it. So I think our best bet is honestly just making a better effort of going to local high schools. Like we've done that with some basketball teams, just working with the actual high schools basketball teams as far as training. And if someone gets hurt, which hopefully they don't, but if they get hurt, they come to the PT side as well. So that's a goal is get more involved with baseball / softball, basically like throwing sports. I would say that's been a goal of ours for about a year or so now. We do have a pretty large influx of other sports, so baseball would be one that would be great to tap into more.
Guys, quick pause and a quick shout out to this new masterclass that we just launched here at True Sports Physical Therapy. Myself and Dr. Tim Stone put together a masterclass of ACL rehab, and we call it From Table to Turf. And the reason we call it that is because it's going to teach you exactly how to get your athlete all the way from post-op day one with the nitty-gritty of regaining all of that range of motion with the tips and the tricks that we use here at True Sports Physical Therapy that gets our athletes better, faster, and stronger. And that's early. And then how do you progress that athlete all the way onto the field with a ball in their foot or a stick in their hand or whatever their sport is, and teach them how to accelerate, how to decel, how to change direction, all the mechanics that go in there. What drills do we use to get our athletes exactly where they need to be back on the field and even better than before injury? And I want you to sign up for that class. Now, you can find it on our website. You can shoot us a direct message and just say, hey, send me the course. It's right now on sale, so make sure you sign up now. It is fully accredited to get you all of your continuing education hours. Sign up for the True Sports Masterclass ACL From Table to Turf. Thanks, guys. Yeah, and you make the point that Miami ain't like Maryland. Like Miami has a sports PT on every single corner, right? They also have millions of athletes, but they got a sports PT who says they're the best on every corner. What's your pitch? What's your elevator pitch to the baseball athlete, to the baseball coach, to the pitching coach to say, you got to send them to Zach Colls?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say send them to just me. I would say you come here and get a collaborative effort between all of our staff. I mean, you come to the facility, you have PT, chiro, strength and conditioning. It's a private facility. It's not a facility where you can walk in and just train. You have the option of working in a group of a semi-private training, one-on-one private training, private PT. And we try to make it a one-stop shop. We've all played sports. You have tons of athletes that have been in here, and we could name drop a few names that are, let's say a few like the baseball names, a few basketball names, if they were this condition, oh yeah, we've had XYZ name, this is how we help them. It would be something along those lines, but again, I know I've kind of already touched upon this. It would never be to come in to just see me. It would be to come and see the whole team here.
Yeah, no, and I think that's totally worthwhile because you only have so many hours to treat. I just think it's really important for those listening. I think it's really important to understand. You have to own what makes you better, right? And I think you did a good job of just outlining that. Of number one, you get one-on-one time for an hour. That's probably hard to find. I think that's one big differentiator. The other thing is I have worked with elite level athletes at this given sport. They've had this type of outcome. That's why you got to come to us. And what makes us unique. I think it's unbelievable how many people I have on this podcast or I just talked to in passing, and they're not tight on their elevator pitch. They're not tight on what their differentiator is. I think you obviously have done that. I just think it's important to kind of keep that in mind. Let me ask you this. Do you feel like you went to University of Miami, right?
Yes.
Okay, coming out of graduate school, how prepared were you just based on that education to treat a professional athlete?
I mean, so through internships, I would say, like, I wouldn't say, I mean, even now, you're never, if you feel like you're complacent and you're not learning, then you're falling behind. That's my opinion. Like, you think you're good, you're at the moment you think you're good, you're falling behind. So at no point where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm confident I can do everything, but having the experience of working, doing a few NFL or the college football preseason camps with working with the baseball team, testing all the athletes, through a ton of that definitely helped. Internship at a local place in Miami that had a pretty high volume of NFL athletes helped as well. So
was that through the school, or did you hustle to get those internships?
They were through the school. I mean, I was employed under the head athletic director at so that was already my job was to be a GA for him for Therex, and then also help in the training room, which was about 2.5 years. And then other than an internship, yeah, it was all through school. So I'd say I felt pretty confident. I worked at private practice that they partnered with XP Sports in Fort Lauderdale. So I helped out with NFL combine work and NFL season work twice there. And then from there, when we I branched into that basketball facility. I mean, it was just me there alone as far as whatever. So that's kind of going back to the confidence thing. Like, if you're timid and you're shaking with this guy on the table, you're doing something with them and you look like you've never used a dry needle before, or you're stretching him, you're just like, you could come across nervous. They're going to look at it and be like, yeah, no, I'm actually good. Like, and they're going to walk out. So I think that's a big thing is just, and even if you don't have the answer, give them the best answer you got, go figure it out tonight and then get back tomorrow. And then you have the right answer.
Okay. So that's a mindset thing and an approach thing, right? Which it sounds like you kind of own that process, which is great. I think that's great advice. You got to own that process. You're very lucky that U of M put you in that position or gave you those opportunities. At least I certainly was not afforded those in my graduate programming. So I think that's awesome that you had that and that you chose to really chase that stuff down. What would you say the biggest difference is in treating a pro athlete, someone who makes $10 million a year, compared to your MVA case that you're hunting down with lawyers?
I mean, there's a number of things. I would say the biggest.
Good. Name them all, Zach.
The pro guys, I mean, we just naturally, we spend more time with them, especially if we're doing their training and PT. That's where it's going to, we have the guys in there for 3, maybe 4 hours. If they've been in the league for 10 years, they have a whole list of injuries. They're going to typically need, or they're going to want to expect more soft tissue work, or they likely will go find somewhere else. Young guys, again, it just depends. It is shifting a little bit more, but I would say time spent on the table, number of areas treating / co-treating. And then as far as them is kind of everyone sitting down prior to, we kind of know who's coming in every off season. So we try to program their full off season ahead. So I guess it takes a bit more of a collaborative effort for all of them. Versus let's say a Carson, in case you don't really know what you're getting, it's going to come in very randomly. And the motivation level, I guess I'll touch upon that, might not always be there. Where a pro athlete, they're coming to see you by choice because they want to get better. And if they're like say on a contract year, they want to get better and they want their next contract. Where again, it goes back and forth. But if someone's they've been like a small accident, they don't always want to be in PT. They kind of know they have to be there.
Yep.
And then just a motivation level that's sometimes slightly different, but again, on a contrast, you have some people who are super motivated and love coming here. So sometimes it can look the same, sometimes it can look completely different. The levels of exercises, modalities used, I think the most common one, dry needling. Most pro guys, they've done it 1,000 times. They don't care. It's like, sure, we can do needles, or they'll usually come in and say, today's a needle day, where you offer dry needling to someone that's never done before, and they see like a pretty long needle. They're like, I don't know about that. So sometimes just kind of just educating on why this would probably work good today, where pro guys, again, especially after a few years, they know what everything is. You don't really got to explain too much, because they're aware of it.
How about exercise selection? Do you notice a difference? Like if you have a patellar tendinopathy in a, let's say, a desk jockey compared to your NBA 2 guard, do you approach those cases differently exercise-wise?
In a sense, I would, and like a short answer, yes and no. Early
that's
on,
not an answer.
Yes,
heck, that's not an answer.
So yes and no. Patellar tendinopathy, yes, we do put them on what we call a tendon loading program. It's typically, I mean, it depends how much time we have them for. That would be another difference, is these programs can be in here for an infinite amount of time. But we do like to put them on ideally like at least like a 12-week tendon loading program. And then where it starts to differ is end goal, where end goal is NFL or any other guy, any pro athlete needs to be explosive, where end goal for someone who just wants to maybe not even go to the gym. They just don't want their knees hurting anymore. They don't probably need to be doing, depth jumps and like all these different multi-directional loadings. So when we start getting into a program, we start seeing some change in that tendon, how the tendon actually looks under scans. We start advancing some of these exercises. You don't really got to always do that with, I mean, if that's a goal of theirs, yeah, 100% they do. They play rec basketball, or they want to get to the gym, or maybe they just want to train like an athlete, 100%. But if they don't have an interest in that, I mean, if things are going great, they feel good. What's getting crazy dynamic and knee reflares up is that their tendon just not as healthy, not as resilient as a pro athlete. You flare them up, and it's just like, what was the purpose of doing all that? So it just depends on goals.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a ton of sense. I always notice, like when I'm treating an NFL athlete, when I go to the weight stack or when I go to the dumbbell rack, I would normally grab, let's say it's 15, 20 pound dumbbell. I'm just going to grab a 50. It's like some of these guys, it just takes so much more to challenge. Where else do you see that outside of the resistance?
As far as what
you need to do to challenge them. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, cardiovascularly, that's always a big concept, especially with it's any surgery. So I always tell people, I'm not gonna be the guy that does all your on field work. That's not my realm. I'm not gonna pretend like it is. That's the whole purpose of working with a team. That's where I think some people fall in trouble. But I think it is your job as a strength coach or a PT, or if you do a hybrid of both, like all of us do here, is you got to condition them. I mean, I don't want someone to be in here, let's say prior to them doing any field work for, let's say 4 or 5 months, and they haven't done all they've done is strengthening, and they've done no conditioning. So from the get-go, I find out what's available, and from honestly almost the first week or two, whether it's a assault bike, a ski erg, something, we are kind of like working on that cardiovascular health. So that'd be one area that's I would say a bit different as far as like you need to include that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what about interpersonally? You paint such an idyllic representation of what a pro athlete looks like. Yes, a lot of them are highly motivated. I also get the guys that come in, don't want to work hard because, hey, I just had a game on Sunday or whatever it is. I'm going to be on my phone the whole time. I'm just going to lay on the table. You do your thing. I'll be scrolling Instagram. A, do you come across that, or is that just me? B, 100%. How do you deal with that crap?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, typically I feel like I keep using the same example, but NFL, I feel like Wednesday is like national NFL off day as far as off season, as far as they're on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday split. Wednesday might be an optional pool day, maybe a little bit of movement, mobility. So I know they're coming in, they're looking for pretty much table work. And then if they're in season, I'd say like some of the Dolphins players, they're going to go to the game. They want to come in like a Thursday, Friday, end of the week, or even on their off days. I think typically Tuesdays. I mean, they're already getting beat the crap out of like with games, and like I get it. So like I'm fine with it. I know that they're coming in. They want extra recovery work outside of the team.
Yeah,
I'm personally fine with it because I know when they're with us, like in the off season, they're let's say if they're coming in Wednesday, they don't want to do too much. Well, they've already put in, or I know they're giving us 4 days of probably 3-4 hours in there. So if you want to come in, have a nice little spot on the table, that's we're cool with it. We're used to it.
Do you have a phone policy?
Nope.
Okay. How often is a guy just sitting on their phone? They don't realize you're in the room.
Every single day.
Every single day. Does that eat at you? How do you handle that?
I mean, on the table, I don't really. I mean, they talk and joke around with all of us. But if they're on the table and they're just we're working on their hamstrings and they're just laying down on their phone, I personally don't really care. And when they're training, I mean, they might check it out here and there. But like when we're actually training and I up and moving, they're never like I don't have to be like like their phone is wherever it is. So it's never if they're resting between sets. Sure, go check something, but I've never had an issue as far as like hello, like like a kid in school, like hey, doctor, like I personally never had the issue, and on the table, I don't care, you can do whatever you want on the table. I just offer what you want to do. I usually ask them what's the plan today. We're doing this and this. We're doing anything specialty. We're doing shockwave, needles, ARP, etc. You want needle, shockwave, perfect, got it. Just let me know if you need anything.
Okay, gotcha. That's a very healthy outlook. I think I have found that. Just an understanding that when you're in here and when you're with me, you can be on your phone, but when we are working out or I need you to focus because I want good outcomes, period. And
for sure.
And at times I want it more than the athlete. And have you ever come across that where you feel like you want this knee to calm down more than they want it to calm down?
I would say I wouldn't say I want it more, but I feel like I'm had very equal levels as far as like, this is annoying. Why is this, or let's say a tendinopathy, why has this been going on so long? And between and this will include making phone calls throughout Saturday, Sunday, from the morning I wake up with, let's say, agents, etc., trying to figure it out. Agents, teams, the player itself, just let's freaking figure this thing out. So yes, I will. It's not uncommon for me on a Saturday night at 9 p.m. to be on a phone call.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, what do you do with the stubborn tendinopathy in season? I distinctly remember one of the first NFL guys I worked out with. I had him come in middle of a game week, and I'm like, okay, we got to do some hurdle hops. He's like, Yoni, I was just in 30 car crashes on Sunday. Like, there's no way in hell I'm working on hurdle hops. But in my head, I'm like, we got to do something to load this tendon appropriately. You just running on it and pissing it off isn't getting the same desired response that I'll get from loading the tendon. How do you handle in season something stubborn that really might need rest?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to you, just explaining that a tendon needs more than just sitting there doing nothing, and also needs more than just being dynamic 24/7, 365 days of the year. We've had a very high volume of decent, pretty big name tendon injuries come through our clinic. So they do get an understanding. We've worked with maybe any given day, we might have all 4 of our tables with people with Achilles, whether it's Achilles ruptures or Achilles tendinopathies. So just explaining the rhyme reason as far as why we're doing it. But again, they get so accustomed to they've been with us for at least 2 months, or even a month. They couldn't know the end of their lifts there that they have these 2 or 3 movements that they're going to go do as far as tendon loading. So yeah, it's just explaining it, but I feel like guys are getting, I think it helps that on social media, they're showing teams lifting. I think the Timberwolves are pretty good at showing teams lifting after games, or even in season. And it doesn't have to be the craziest lift, but give me 20 to 45 minutes. That's awesome.
Yeah, that can go a long. Yeah, I feel like that has caught on far more in the NBA than it has in the NFL.
Yeah, I would agree. I think NFL, after they don't want to do too much. I don't try with. I'd say currently I don't really get too much tendinopathy, and then in season I just get the guy we just get the guys that come in that are just tired as hell and just want some extra recovery prior to their flight.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, let's dig into Achilles tendinopathy a little bit. Why do you think it has become so prevalent? It's like the new ACL in the NFL.
Yeah, it's a number of reasons that we tried to have this conversation. I can't pinpoint one, but I think a big part of it is athletes just being bigger, better, faster, stronger, trying to keep up with each other. Social media is a part of it. As much as I love social media, it's part of an issue because you see this looks cool, and in an off season, you're supposed to take care of your body and, let's say, improve upon a few things. But if you're out there, let's say, on the court trying to prove a point the entire off season, doing runs from the get go, or pick up from the get go, you never go through a proper, just even 8 to 12 week off season routine, whether it's for a tendon loading or just a general strength routine. You're just trying to prove a point to really no one except for maybe a few people watching the court. I mean, I think that's part of the issue, is just doing too much in the off season and not focusing on things that really matter. Doing some things in the clinic, which I'm sure you've seen in social media, as far as exercises that have no rhyme or reason that just look cool and get likes. That's part of an issue. I've heard something about, I think we've looked at cell phone usage as far as everything being lengthened, like you're sitting on a couch and let's say your toes are up, your neck's down, so the entire posterior chain being lengthened constantly all the time. I don't know how much that plays a factor at all. I think I've read something or heard something about that. But I think it's very multifactorial, but I think it comes down to doing too much too soon and not enough rest and recovery.
You think turf plays a role at all?
I know it might not be a popular opinion. I don't think turf has too much to do with it. And
why do you think that?
Guys have been playing on turf for a bit, and just directly talking to guys, a lot of them, at least that we have, and they might not love it, but I don't think they attribute too much to being the turf.
Well, I also think it's worthwhile to think about how much is in your control. We don't have a lot of control over the surface they play on, right? We have to adapt to that surface. And it sounds like what you're describing is they're not doing enough prehab. They're definitely not getting the rest that they need. They don't have the ramp up that they need. I think that would make a lot of sense as to why these Achilles are popping.
And the tally off of that last part you just said is, it's say a free agent that's not on a team, which happens. I think everyone's experienced this. If you're not on a team and you put that key word, they ramp up throughout an off season, you go through phases. Well, you hit the end of the off season where you're typically supposed to come back to teams. Well, let's say you have a guy that's not on a team, but can get a phone call literally tomorrow. So now you're like, shit, now I'm at this point, which you're supposed to be, the peaking, maybe take a little deload week to go back to the team, be refreshed, but you got to be in a stay ready mode for
ever.
2 weeks.
Yeah, it could be forever. Months. Right.
It could be the entire off season. And it's very hard to get that person to say, hey, maybe we deload, because, which they'll usually agree to it, but it's to tell them to, hey, let's take it easy for a little bit. And they're like, well, I might be getting my agent said that I might be getting a call next week, or they're expecting a call next week. And if they don't feel like they're in the best condition to perform what they can do, then that's I think that's also a factor for some people, is just hitting that peak phase and then having to stay in that peak phase for infinity time.
Yeah,
that's just anyone's gonna break down.
True Sports Physical Therapy is growing like wildfire. We have 14 locations, soon to be more. We are throughout the state of Maryland. We're in Pennsylvania, in Lebanon, in York, Pennsylvania, as well as in Delaware, in Newark and Wilmington, Delaware. Like I said, so many more practices to come, and we always need outstanding sports physical therapists. Our treatment style is unique. We are one-on-one with your athlete for 45 minutes every single session. You do the entire treatment, you do the entire evaluation, and they are in state-of-the-art facilities where you have room to run, throw, and jump, and really get your athlete all the way back to on the field and better and stronger than they were. We also have outstanding salaries, comp structures, bonus abilities, 401ks, as well as a very strong continuing education offering, including in-house continuing education. And we're looking for you. Now is the time, as we are growing like crazy, just shoot your resume over to Yoni, YONI, at True Sports PT, or shoot us a DM and we will hit you back. We will get you in for our unique, tried and true interview process and really make a determination that this is the right place for you to grow your career and get your athletes better than ever. We can't wait to hear from you. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. One of the Achilles injuries that sticks out in my mind, I was just working with an NFL guy. He's like 11 months now post-op. He blew out his Achilles preparing for their conditioning test. Their conditioning test is a series of tempo runs, and he's a 280-pound lineman, essentially, right? So, like, how tailored is that to what he needs to do for a living? Not really tailored. The problem is it's just this old school mentality. Well, this is our conditioning test. So, we'll grade it based upon how heavy you are, what position you are, but it's definitely not truly position specific because it doesn't represent what he has to do on the field. I think that's a little bit of a disconnect you'll see. Give me a horror story from a professional athlete's training regimen that just blew your mind.
As far as like something that's been done,
it just doesn't what in professional sports from a rehab and strength and conditioning standpoint blows your mind that is still being done?
I mean, it's a number of things. I mean, just seeing some of just too much excessive plyometrics from the get-go. A lot of it's, again, let's say a guy goes out to LA or Miami and they're just there for a week. Someone's going to want to obviously get cool video footage, and they're springing around like just like crazy. Trying to think of anything a bit more specific, which I'm sure there's tons of things out there that would probably come to my head. I mean, I'm not getting anything off the top of my spot off the top of my head right now as far as like why is this being done, but I think it speaks for itself. You see on social media, it's like what's the objective here?
How does it? Right. What is the point? I definitely seen that. I mean, I saw an off-season training regimen. It was during COVID. So what they did was they got all of their guys like a minimum amount of equipment. They shipped it to the guys. One of the things was a jump rope, and like picture a Zoom call of 30 guys doing 600 reps of a jump rope, and lo and behold, like I was flush with Achilles tendinopathies or tendinitises, like immediately after that. Like, how does that make sense? That's crazy. And I always have these conversations where you assume they are getting the absolute best in-house, and rarely is that the case. I see a lot of old school interventions. What organization strikes or sticks out in your mind as someone who's doing it really well?
As far as organization and be more specific.
What NFL team, what NBA team really has an awesome grasp on performance training?
I can't speak too much. I've only been around mainly the Rocket staff. I mean, I think they do pretty well. I've been some around. They communicated some with like the Heat staff. I think the Heat staff do really well as far as keeping their guys in shape. I know some of the guys don't love it. So they have to be. They do high. I think it's well known. They have a pretty high standard for being in a certain condition. So I can't speak on too much that I don't know of. So I can't answer that completely, but just being around the Heat and the Rocket staff, I think they do very well.
Yeah. And in the NFL, I've seen the Vikings do really well. Like their use of force plate analysis and the way it actually dictates what transpires on the training side is awesome. I see a lot of NFL teams that have force plates that are either collecting dust in the corner, like they're just not used, or they're used every 6 months. And it doesn't really track with what they're trying to do. So, I just see a lot of mistakes there. Tell me the biggest mistake in Zach Colls' career that you've made rehabbing professional athletes.
Biggest mistake I've made rehabbing professional athletes.
It's amazing that it's so hard to think of a mistake.
No, I'm not just said it in any cocky manner by any means. It's just, as I said, if you're not learning, you're falling behind. Just being early on, just not knowing. I think just this isn't kind of completely answer your question, but just not working with enough volume of guys. I think the more you work with, the more guys you work with, the more you can tailor it, the more you can figure out what works, what doesn't work. Just not working with certain conditions enough. Maybe I didn't do this the best as far as loading. Maybe I loaded this too quickly. But I I'm not knocking on wood. I don't have any crazy nightmare stories for you. Like this happened and it was like, oh my God, this is bad. Again, knock on wood, but
how do you avoid that? How did you avoid the catastrophe that I could list a million of in my career?
Having a strength and conditioning background before the PT and doing a crazy amount. I probably worked anywhere from 20 to 50 hours a week in PT school as far as training and working in the training room. Reps, learning under residents, training myself, learning under the head athletic director, internship, taking notes as far as how they worked with programs. It was also very much like a hybrid training and PT. So I think just doing it yourself, I think you learn best by doing, and then learning under others that have done it great, and just knowing that there's many people out there that are much better than you, and being open-minded to any open ideas, and just say, hey, I'm just here to learn, and just absorbing and trying to take notes and learn and then implement. So I think that helped me a lot in PT school, is learning on the people that had such a experience, like high volume experience with college and pro athletes, learning from them and then implementing. And then also, like I said, just self-work as far as constantly being a trainer. That helped a lot in PT school.
Yeah, that's a healthy mindset. Okay, how about this? How about if I pose it this way? What kind of mistakes have you seen other PTs make when rehabbing professional athletes?
Doing too much too soon.
Okay, can you think of a specific example?
Coming in and first week we have them doing crazy plyometrics or squatting as heavy as possible, or split squatting as heavy as possible, and within a few weeks we have knees kind of bothering me. They'll say my knees kind of bothering me. It's not that big of a deal, but it's kind of bothering. And as you kind of know, okay, we have a knee issue 2 weeks in. How's this going to look in 6 to 8 weeks progressively? And again, okay, you already started here. This is your baseline week 1. You're squatting 405. Okay, by week 6 to 8, actually squatting XYZ. I'm just spitballing numbers.
Yep.
But I think in short, just doing too much too soon. And I think again, that falls back to a lot of it is not having a proper strength and conditioning background and knowing how to, in short, fundamentally load.
Yeah. Yeah. And the truth is I see that a ton, and I see it from in-house PTs, where PTs working at the NFL level with NFL athletes all day, every day, employed by the organization, swing and miss on that because we get too siloed as a profession. I mean, you've hit on it a couple times in this conversation. The way you lean on your strength and conditioning background is imperative to being an outstanding physical therapist. Too often we become so medical and so textbook. And if I had a nickel for every time I saw an NFL athlete doing 3 sets of 10 towel crunches for intrinsic foot strength, I'd be loaded. It's crazy. Yeah. But we get too siloed, I think is one big mistake.
Another big is, I guess, going off as well, is doing too many just like social media-esque exercises, with 10,000 bands. And again, we'll add bands for accommodating resistance, for more speed strength work, et cetera, et cetera. If it's a Wednesday, they just want, some creative mobility work. Sure. Maybe we'll give them some of these things that just some stability stuff. But when it's done, it's just like, this is your off-season program. You have bands point from every direction. Your balance going to boast to, and it's just some things like, what did you accomplish over those 12 weeks? Is there any strengthening? Was there any proper loading? Was there any?
Was it measured? Right. And was it measured, right? How do you measure that progression? I think that gets tough when you start getting fancy with bands. Okay. It sounds like, your clinic is a dream. It sounds like your patient population is one that I would have killed another human to treat when I was in graduate school. Give me the downside of working with professional athletes.
I think keep it short is scheduling. It depends. Some people, they know their schedule going into the next week. I typically don't know my schedule until 10, 11 the night before, and I'm texting other people and trying to move people around, or even texting people early that morning. So again, we have to sometimes change our schedule a bit during prime off season. where it's mainly just athletes in the morning, just due to the chaotic where 8 a.m. might mean 11 a.m. And I want to make it fair to everyone. I don't want to have someone that has all they have is an hour and a half in our place, and they show up and we have 5 guys just show up because who knows? So that would probably be in short is just an inconsistent schedule that I'm used to it. It is what it is. We just know it. You just know it's coming. You anticipate it. It is what it is. It's just like, all right, well, we'll make it work. There's both of us. We're used to chaos. Doesn't bother us, but I can see where if you don't know your schedule or you already have your schedule set for the day and you have, these 5 guys that's coming after there. Yeah, sure. Come in.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah. And I think you got to be careful with how much leeway you give guys. It's awesome to be accommodating. I think you can really get taken advantage of, or at least I would say I remember very distinctly early on in my career when I was treating an NFL guy, I remember him showing up about 2 hours late for his appointment, not texting, not letting me know, shows up. I'm working with other patients that have just the same amount of right to my time as you do. I remember his line was, "I don't think you understand, Yoni. We show up when we want to."
Okay, so I think it's a blessing is, I think everyone agreed. I think that's why all these guys get along so well. We may even have not had very big ego guys. And they usually know if they're late and they come in and we're not ready, it's just like a mutual respect as far as like, yeah, it's on me. I know I was supposed to be here at 9. If I showed up at even 9:45, 10, and I can't get on the table right away, like we've never gotten up for you bad onto me. I mean, even though I'm an hour or 2 late, you need to be seeing me first. Like they know they see us where we're busy and they see 10 other athletes. So they're going to, if they come in and demand something and there's 10 other guys in there, I mean, how are they going to look? So there is like a mutual respect thing as far as like this was the time you're scheduled. You're late. I'm still going to work with you. I'll still make it work. You might have to give me an hour or 2 and I'll probably still give you like your full one-on-one time. It's just like, you got to give me time. I have a full schedule. So
yeah, you definitely have a full schedule. Okay. Zach Colls, thanks for handling those questions. Let's go to our lightning round. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Best athlete you've ever worked with and why? Don't say John Wall.
I have to say him, John Wall, great athlete and a better human being.
What made him a great athlete? What could he do so well, so much better than anyone else you worked with?
I think everyone knows he's fast as shit. He works, even though he might have I think that a lot of people portray him differently. He works super hard, puts in hours that people just don't see. And just his skill set with the ball and just his love for the game. Like, not only he would obviously he plays the game, but I would watch him rewatch all the games from the day before, as if he's watching film. I don't think he was big on film, but he would rewatch sometimes every game twice. So this man loved the sport more than, and I firsthand saw it, was with him every single day, 8 to 10 hours. Loved the game, would be rewatched again. Sometimes some games once, twice, just constantly watching, studying, just, yeah.
Now you traveled with him, right? You were his personal physio, right? How did that work with the team? When did you get time to work with him?
Every day. In short, every single day. I think that I collaborated with the team very well. We know what I was doing with them, what they were doing with them, with a player like that too. I mean, there's got tons of guys, especially big contract basketball guys. They have their own person, or quarterbacks. They have their own person. And just literally, I think this goes back to the very, very, very beginning, taking your ego away and you work collaboratively. I mean, it helps me, it helps them. I can learn a lot from them. They don't always have all the time in the world for as much attention that a high level athlete, like a high contract guy, wants. So that's where I can help out as well and do some things that they don't have time for, and vice versa. But yeah, for me, and I was traveling with, I was in pretty much right next door to them, city to city, if not in the exact same house, and then traveling just in the team hotel. So
and flying with the team.
Not during COVID. No, it was during COVID. So couldn't get credentialed during that time. So I was flying separate, but I would go to the same team hotel.
Wow. Okay, that sounds like an unbelievable experience. Who is the best PT on the planet not named Zach Colls? And don't say your business partner.
Stefan Valdez. I know you don't want the answer, but he's
Okay, if it's not Stefan Valdez and it's not Zach Colls, who is it?
I'm just sticking with Stefan.
Okay. Okay, what are you currently reading, and what is your favorite book of all time?
That answer, I don't have too much for you. I mean, and this probably sounds bad. I don't have much time, but between...
You said you're always learning.
Always learning, yeah. I mean, I do read online, but between being in here so often, all still the admin side, online programming. I have a whole separate online business as well as far as online programming for training and rehab. I don't have many free minutes in my day, to be dead honest with you, so I don't have a straightforward answer for you there.
Fine. Before you opened your own business, a book that changed your life. I'm trying to educate my audience here, Zach.
Man, if I had one for you, I would tell you I've never been a big reader. I listen to when I drive, I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, and that's probably the best thing I got for you.
Your favorite Joe Rogan guest?
Favorite Joe Rogan guest?
Yes. Come on. Give me something.
Oh, man, yes, so many good ones. I like the Ways to Well. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but I love his company a lot.
Yeah, he's pretty impressive. I know I've sent athletes down to his clinic as well. What is his name? Start with a B.
I could probably I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but I think he's been on there twice, and I usually re-listen to his stuff as far as just his background of working in insurance, and it's all interesting stuff to me.
It's fascinating to me, and he the first pod he goes into how he got to where he is and the mess that is our medical system and how influenced it is by the pill pushers. I think it's a must listen. So I think that's worthwhile. I would also recommend Andrew Berenson. He is awesome on there. So is Dr. Robert Malone. Great guest. I just heard Adam Sandler on there, who's a personal hero of mine. Did you like that one?
I'm like halfway through it, and yeah, it's good. I'm like halfway through that podcast right now.
So it's good. They talk a little bit too much about stand up and like the art of stand up. Yeah, I kind of want to I want to hear what it was like on what was it like on the set of Billy Madison? Like, how are you keeping
this? Gilmore. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, if you had to choose one Adam Sandler movie, favorite Adam Sandler movie.
Let's go Happy Gilmore. I like Happy Gilmore.
Better than Billy Madison. The guy's name is Brigham Bueller, by the way. Thank God, I would not have been able to sleep.
Yeah. I can't say better, but I've seen many Adams. Yeah, they're both right there.
Okay.
Waterboy. I love all of them.
No, Waterboy is way below those two.
Well, yeah, I love all Adam Sandler movies. They're funny and shit.
Love that. Okay, tell us, Zach, how do we find you on Instagram? Who do you want to hear from? Tell us best ways to get in touch with you.
Yeah, best you can shoot me a message. I mean, my username's just my name, just dr.Zach Colls. So Dr.Zach Colls. It's the best way. I usually end up every day. I go through all my messages. If I don't within a day or two, I usually be sure to stay on top of that and hear from anyone, questions, students, other PTs. I get messages from, again, with the online business, from people all over the country. I program for people all over the country. So, yeah, feel free to reach out. It can really be anyone.
Awesome. Zach, you have been a pleasure, well worth the wait. So thank you so much for being on the True Sports Pod. We're going to stay in regular touch. I really appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, man. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You made it happen.
Hell yeah. Glad you made it happen. We'll talk soon, Zach. Thank you, man.
All right, brother. Take care.
See you guys.